You know Starbucks. It's that chain of coffee stores which exists on what seems like every single street corner in the world. There was a point in the late '00s where Ne-Yo appeared to be on a one-man mission to take over the charts. Not content with scoring #1 singles So Sick and albums In My Own Words, Because of You as a lead artist, the super-talented R&B star was also featured on top 10 singles by Fabolous, Make Me Better, Keri Hilson, Knock You Down, and Plies, Busted Baby Part 2, and penned and produced massive hits for Beyoncé, Irreplaceable, Rihanna, Russian Roulette, and Jennifer Hudson, Spotlight. However, the once ubiquitous star's winning streak eventually came to an end. In fact, the man-born Shaffer Chimere Smith hasn't scored a genuine hit in any capacity since 2014 Pitbull collaboration, Time of Our Lives. But that doesn't mean he's been simply sitting on his mountains of royalties. They've got that logo, you know the one. From talent show judging and small-screen acting roles to weddings, births, and funerals, here's a look at what the three-time Grammy winner has been up to in recent years. He got married. Ne-Yo never made it down the aisle with the mother of his first 2 children, Monyetta Shaw. And then there's that smell. That unmistakable, inimitable Starbucks smell. Not many places can lay claim to having an iconic smell, but these guys have nailed it. Ever since its foundation in 1971, Starbucks has grown from a modest Seattle coffee shop to the corporate behemoth whose defining characteristics are recognizable to people from every corner of the earth. The star called off their engagement and, indeed, their entire relationship in 2013. What may seem like a simple staple of our day-to-day lives, however, is actually a fascinatingly complex organization with a vivid history and a whole host of bizarre little quirks that many people are totally unaware of. From its racy early logo and the literary origins of its name, to their foray into the music biz, and a clandestine branch in Langley, this is the untold truth of Starbucks. The founders' Starbucks fans have 3 people to thank for bringing the company into the world. Suddenly, a mere 3 years later, the singer finally said, "I do," when he tied the knot with model Crystal Renee. The first is Gordon Boker, a college dropout from Seattle who had discovered his love of coffee on a trip to Italy in 1962. And unsurprisingly, for a groom who's sold millions of records, it was a no-expenses-spared affair. The happy couple got hitched at an oceanside ceremony at California's Rancho Palos Verdes in front of no fewer than 150 of their nearest and dearest. Ne-Yo and Renee didn't have the most auspicious of starts. The other 2 were Boker's roommates, Jerry Baldwin and Zev Siegel. The latter turned up 2 hours later for their very first date, having spent much of the evening researching whether the R&B star truly was the gentleman he claims to be. Despite this little hitch, the pair instantly hit it off, with Ne-Yo later telling People magazine that he "kinda knew right away" that his unpunctual date was the person he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He also nearly got divorced. Ne-Yo's happy ever after romance appeared to have come to an abrupt end in 2020 when the star announced that he was writing a new song, one inspired by his impending split. Spurred on by their love of good coffee, they began roasting their own coffee. The singer confirmed speculation that he and Crystal were heading for the divorce courts in a February interview for podcast Private Talk with Alexis Texas. Together, they started a company and named it Starbucks. This early iteration of the legendary coffee shop sold coffee beans, tea, spices, coffee machines and accessories. However, he had nothing but kind words about his soon-to-be ex. "There's nothing bad to say about her, she's a fantastic woman. She's the mother of my children." It wasn't until many years later, under a different owner, that they began to sell coffee drinks. But Boker, Baldwin, and Siegel wouldn't be with Starbucks forever. In the 80s, a young salesman named Howard Schultz bought out the company. Today, Boker lives a modest life, having for a time owned Pete's Coffee and Tea, where he still serves on the board of directors, and Red Hook Ale Brewery. Baldwin is the proprietor of his own wine company in California and served as president of the Association Scientifique Internationale du Café. Siegel is a business advisor and motivational speaker. The first location wasn't really the first. The site of the original Starbucks is something of a place of pilgrimage for coffee fans, even today. The famous tourist spot, however, is actually the store's second location, to which it moved in 1977. Nonetheless, it constitutes a must-visit for visitors to Seattle from all around the world.
The store isn't much different to how it was back in the 70s. It's a small building, and there's nowhere to sit or hang out inside, a remnant of the company's original operation as a place to buy coffee beans and accessories, rather than drink coffee. That's not to say they haven't modernized at all, though. You can now buy coffee drinks at the original store, which actually offers everything you'd find in any other modern Starbucks branch. In fact, to a passing observer, the only thing that would really give any indication as to this store's long and hallowed history are the strange, barely recognizable logos emblazoned around the room. Their original logo was raunchy. The Starbucks logo is one of the most iconic in corporate history. She's always gonna be that, and I will always respect her. But in an unexpected plot twist just a few months later, Ne-Yo revealed that the pair had managed to save their marriage from the brink. And all they needed to realize that they were destined to be together was the small matter of a global pandemic. Speaking on the Angie Martinez show in May 2020, the chart topper described the coronavirus quarantine as something of a blessing, adding, "I have to give this whole COVID-19 thing a little bit of credit and saving my marriage because it allowed us time to just sit still and really talk." Few can quite match the sheer recognizability of that white mermaid on her green background, the McDonald's arches, perhaps, or the Nike swoosh. That's all we needed. A growing family for Ne-Yo. Ne-Yo now has enough kids to form his own mini-me vocal troupe. The multiple Grammy winner became a father for the third time in 2016 with the arrival of son Shaffer, who he shares his real name with. And then 2 years later, wife Crystal gave birth to their second son, Roman Alexander Raj. Let's just hope that the tot doesn't read the interview his father gave to Us Weekly about his arrival. The star admitted to the Gossip magazine that he was left disappointed when he found out the gender of his fourth child. "I wanted a daughter. Still, though, it's up there. I did. I have 1 girl and now 3 boys. But that wasn't quite always the Starbucks logo. The original logo, which is still plastered all over that early Seattle branch, was actually brown, and depicted the mermaid as topless. I wanted to kind of even it out with another girl. God said no, so it's all good." Ne-Yo first became a father in 2010 when then-girlfriend Monyetta Shaw gave birth to daughter Madeline. The couple added to their family unit a year later with son Mason before going their separate ways. Ne-Yo turned his focus to acting. You might not think of Ne-Yo as an actor, but in the same year he released his first studio effort. He also made his film debut playing Max in direct-to-DVD sequel Save the Last Dance 2. The idea was that the two-tailed mermaid, who was based on an image found on a 16th-century woodcut, was supposed to appear as seductive as the coffee itself. Naturally, complaints were made, but Starbucks didn't see a problem until they reached the point at which the logo needed to appear in large on the side of delivery trucks. The logo was therefore redesigned, the mermaid was given her modesty plus a new hairstyle to boot, and the legendary modern icon was born. The name had novel beginnings. Nowadays, nobody puts much thought into what the name Starbucks could possibly mean. And why should they? After all, everyone already knows what it means. It's the name of a coffee shop. Over the next few years, the triple threat also showed up in another dance drama, Stomp the Yard, apocalyptic sci-fi battle Los Angeles, and war movie Red Tails. Ne-Yo has continued to add to his filmography more recently, too. He enjoyed a 2-episode stint as Marcus on The Mindy Project, appeared as the Tin Man in NBC's live staging of The Wiz and, in a role he'd probably rather forget about, also popped up as a Secret Service agent in Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No. The crooner's most notable role has arguably been in YouTube's Step Up spin-off. Ne-Yo has been an ever-present of the show as Sage Odom, the founder of the fictional High Water Performing Arts School in Atlanta. Once upon a time, however, the name might have seemed a little peculiar, and that's because it finds its origins in a very specific place. The founders of Starbucks took the name from Moby Dick, the legendary novel by Herman Melville. Step Up, High Water was actually cancelled by its home network after 2 seasons before being revived for a third by Starz. He contributed to Empire. Ne-Yo also made a significant contribution to the second season of Lee Daniels Award-winning musical drama Empire. Firstly, he played himself in Season 2's 5th episode, Be True, where he gave Jamal Jussie Smollett some words of wisdom on both the personal and professional front while also offering him an invitation to join his tour. If that's not all, he also wrote and produced no fewer than 7 original songs for The Fox show, including No Doubt, a collaboration between his regular partner in crime Pitbull and Smollett, and heartbreak anthem Never Live Again. The star told Billboard in 2015 how honored he was to be a part of such a groundbreaking show. I've spoken before on how the art of storytelling has been lost a bit. I definitely feel Empire is helping to reprogram us back to that place where we pay attention and invest emotionally in the records and the artists. Ne-Yo's six-pack is made in the kitchen. In February of 2019, Ne-Yo gushed about his transition from carnivore to vegan in an interview with Us Weekly. "I am loving it. In the book, Starbuck is the name of the first mate of the Pequod, Captain Ahab's ship, and provides a calmer contrast to the obsessive nature of Ahab himself." Starbucks, however, was actually a second-choice name for the company. Gordon Boker had actually wanted to call the company Pequod, but Boker's marketing partner Terry Heckler was unconvinced. "I genuinely am." Eventually, the two settled on Starbucks as a name, presumably having ruled out Ahab, Ishmael, and Captain Boomer. "It's been about 2 years," he explained, further touting the benefits: "More energy, my face clears up, the weight falls off." But what inspired the singer to give up all dairy and animal products after more than 30 years on the planet? Well, apparently, it was the same eye-opening documentary film that has encouraged so many other Netflix users to swap their burgers for lentils. What the health? The star revealed to the world his new dietary habits in a Facebook post and implored many of his loyal fans to do the same. He also later showed that you needn't give up your six-pack if you make such a notable lifestyle change, with a blatant thirst trap posted on an Instagram story via plant-based news. "It's for the best, really. They work hard for that fabulous aroma. Yep, it's that classic Starbucks aroma." In his 1997 book Pour Your Heart Into It, Howard Schultz describes it as heady, rich, full-bodied, dark, suggestive. Whatever it is, it's one of the defining features of Starbucks' image and pervades practically every Starbucks store across the planet. But keeping that smell strong is hard work for the company. Alongside a shirtless bathroom selfie, Ne-Yo wrote, "Vegan life. Coffee beans tend to absorb odors, meaning it's easy for them to be ruined by contaminant smells. Me telling myself if I want to keep this stomach I should probably not eat this bag of chips right now." He joined the MUTAR to prevent this from happening. Starbucks banned smoking in their stores long before it became the law. Kelly campaign. Ne-Yo wasn't exactly the biggest fan of They also prevent their employees from using perfumes and colognes, and refuse to sell chemically flavored coffee beans. Strong-smelling goods such as soup, pastrami and other foods are also off the menu, though the store does serve a small selection of simple foods such as sandwiches and pastries that are baked off premises. What results is one pure, simple smell: coffee. Frankly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Those apron colors aren't just for show. The classic green staff apron is practically as recognizable to Starbucks customers as the logo itself, but it's not the only one that exists. Kelly. Before all the disturbing allegations about the R&B star came to a head in the powerful documentary, Surviving R. Kelly. In 2007, he was dropped from Kelly's Double Up tour after just a week, with the disgraced star citing a contractual dispute as to the reason, and Ne-Yo claiming that jealousy over the crowd's reception was to blame. In fact, there's a whole range of other aprons which all have their own individual meanings and purposes. The green apron is standard, of course. The "So Sick" singer later sued Kelly's tour promoter for his abrupt dismissal, winning $700,000 in the process. Ne-Yo also wasted little time denouncing his very brief one-time touring partner following the screening of the aforementioned Lifetime doc in 2019. Military vets have the option of wearing one embroidered with an American flag, while staff members who have graduated from the Starbucks College Achievement Plan have one embroidered with a mortarboard. Orange aprons are worn in the Netherlands to celebrate King's Day, while the purple apron is saved exclusively for each year's 26 barista champions. The black apron, meanwhile, is worn by coffee masters, who have a certified knowledge in the field. Occasionally, promotional events will involve the company giving out a few special aprons to each store, such as the pale blue apron for the launch of Frappuccino Happy Hour or the red aprons you might see during the holidays. Baristas definitely have a dress code. The apron isn't the only item on the Starbucks dress code worth a look, though.
In fact, the company is actually pretty strict on how it allows employees to present themselves. The singer was just one of over 2 million viewers who saw countless women detail the sexual abuse they had endured at the hands of the R&B icon. And in an Instagram post captioned with the hashtag #MuterKelly, Ne-Yo wrote, "There is no excuse. Here's a run-through of the rules. Hair must be kept looking natural, meaning no bright colors such as purple, pink, blue or green, though this seems to vary by store. Rings are allowed, but only if they have no stones, and watches, bracelets and wristbands are forbidden for food safety reasons. Music is important. The apron must be kept clean, unwrinkled and unstained, while your shirt must be solid black or white, and they prefer if you tuck it in. Piercings should be small, fingernails clean, and tattoos are allowed, but they must be tasteful and can't be on your face or throat. It really is. Finally, any hats worn must have the Starbucks logo, and pants, shorts or skirts should be khaki or black. On the no-go list: blue jeans, hoodies, t-shirts, yoga pants, cowboy boots, canvas shoes and, of course, colognes and perfumes. The tables are round for a reason. Starbucks round tables exist at pretty much every location the company owns, and although they may not exactly evoke the warm, inviting comfort of smaller, living room coffee shops, they're built that way for a very good reason. According to Karen Blumenthal, author of Grande Expectations, A Year in the Life of Starbucks stock, via Reader's Digest, the store's round tables are made that way to make you feel less lonely and more at home. But it's not more important than protecting our children, protecting our little girls. Round tables are more welcoming than those with square edges, she writes. Period. He sang at George Floyd's funeral. Ne-Yo understandably struggled to keep his composure when performing at the funeral of George Floyd, the man whose death at the hands of the Minnesota Police Department sent shockwaves across the world. Floyd died when a white police officer kneeled on his neck for nearly 9 minutes following an arrest for a minor offense. The incident, in which the victim repeatedly stated he couldn't breathe, was captured on camera for the world to see and spearheaded a wave of protests in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. As well as delivering a rendition of Boyz II Men's "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye" at the service, Ne-Yo also gave an impassioned speech, telling mourners, 50 states are protesting at the same time, this man changed the world. He changed the world for the better. I just want to personally thank George Floyd for his sacrifice so that my kids can be all right later on. And people look less alone while seated at a round table. It just goes to show that even the most innocuous characteristics of stores like Starbucks have been thought through over and over again. I appreciate the sacrifice, my brother, I genuinely do. Ne-Yo increased his net worth. Ne-Yo's net worth in 2020 stands at a whopping $9 million, but the singer had to fight tooth and nail to get his hands on much of that figure. Indeed, in 2014, the singer filed a lawsuit against his former manager Kevin Foster after claiming he'd been swindled out of millions of dollars. And sure, maybe a cynic would suggest that Starbucks make their tables this way in the hopes of keeping people from wanting to leave their stores, thus making for money from each customer, but who are we to say? There are some cup sizes you might not know about. You're probably well aware of Starbucks cup sizes. However, the case was only resolved in 2019 when a judge ruled that Foster had used false pretenses to coerce his client into investing heavily in a sports drink firm. The chart topper was no doubt left relieved by the news of this windfall, as just 2 years previously, he spent nearly $2 million on a brand new home in Sherman Oaks. You've got the tall 12 ounces, the grande 16 ounces, and the venti 20 ounces. But there are some other cup sizes which, despite not appearing on the menu, are available to Starbucks customers. The first is the short, which was one of the 2 original cup sizes sold by the company. It's only 8 ounces, and constitutes the smallest drink size that Starbucks offers, despite being a fairly regular size for homemade coffee. The luxurious property boasts 5 bedrooms and bathrooms as well as a formal dining room, lounge with fireplace, center island kitchen, and den. It looks as though Ne-Yo is keen to ensure he's never financially duped again. When asked who his dream dinner guest was in an interview on CNBC Make It, the star gave an unexpected answer: business tycoon Warren Buffett. Ne-Yo explained, "I would just want to sit and just pick up his demeanor, pick up his vibe and see what kind of man it takes to make that much money, to be that successful in business."
Like what kind of person do you have to be? He spread some R&B holiday cheer. In 2019, Ne-Yo attempted to stake his claim as the R&B world's answer to crooner Michael Bublé with his first holiday album. It's only available for hot drinks, and doesn't always show up on the menu boards. Another Kind of Christmas featured 11 songs suitable for the holidays, including cover versions of Marvin Gaye's I Want to Come Home for Christmas, Stevie Wonder's Someday at Christmas, and Donny Hathaway's This Christmas. Of course, being such a prolific songwriter himself, Ne-Yo couldn't help but throw in a few original compositions, too. The nostalgic Talk About It was inspired by the star's Yuletide memories growing up, while Just Ain't Christmas is the tale of a relationship breaking down at the worst possible moment, December 24th. Sadly, Ne-Yo's mix of soulful festive favorites and self-penned seasonal efforts probably didn't end up in many fans' stockings. Another is the Trenta, a new-ish drink size that measures in at a whopping 31 ounces. In fact, it became his first ever LP to miss the Billboard 200 altogether, while it also failed to produce a hit single. Ne-Yo hasn't stopped collaborating. Ne-Yo may have lost his hit-making touch, but he's still very much an in-demand artist. The star has lent his vocals to singles by several other artists since he last graced the US Hot 100, including superstar DJs Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike, fellow R&B sensation Jadakiss and trance legend Armin van Buuren. He's also ventured into the hip-hop world on several occasions, guesting on tracks by the likes of T-Pain, Problem, and Gang Starr. And he's added to his production, songwriting credits with work on En Vogue's Comeback, Rocket, and American Idol runner-up La Portia Renee's Somebody Diz. Throw in his appearance alongside Gwen Stefani, Fall Out Boy and Jason Derulo on the star-studded cover of It's a Small World for Disney and his own collabs with Bebe Rexha, Charlie Black, Jeremiah, OT. It's only available for iced drinks such as iced coffee, iced tea, lemonade and other cold drinks, and usually costs 50 cents more than the venti size. But honestly, you probably don't need it. The human stomach can only hold around 32 ounces of liquid, and a Trenta Frappuccino, which Starbucks reportedly once sold, would contain over 1,000 calories and 100 grams of sugar. They really are everywhere. Almost if there's one thing everyone knows about Starbucks, it's that they're everywhere. Genesis and his old pal Pitbull, and it's clear that Ne-Yo still has one helluva contacts list. He became a talent show judge. I feel like there are so many ways to get into the business now that weren't around when I was trying to get in. It almost makes me mad. That's how Ne-Yo admitted he felt about the idea of talent shows in a 2012 interview with The Sun, despite the fact he'd just helped Nicole Scherzinger at the Judge's House stage of The X Factor. The singer's attitude towards such star-making vehicles appeared to become even more muddled when he willingly signed up as a guest judge for America's Got Talent in 2016. Seriously, there's a good chance you can probably see one right now, and if you can't, there's probably one right around the corner. And then in 2017, he joined Derek Hough and executive producer Jennifer Lopez on the panel of NBC's World of Dance. The star soon built up a reputation for being the harshest critic, as host Jenna Dewan Tatum pointed out in a chat with Access Hollywood via World of Dance magazine. Addressing Ne-Yo directly, she explained, "You know what it is? Your tough love and your standards are really high because you're going, this is for $1 million." The sheer scale of Starbucks' worldwide domination was put into context by Quartz in 2014. Their mapping of the chain across the world found that Starbucks existed in 63 countries, with notable absences in Africa, Central Asia and Eastern Europe. They also found that the distribution of Starbucks in cities mirrors the shape of the cities themselves, demonstrating the sheer expanse of the stores across each. Quartz also found that Seoul had the most Starbucks at the time, closely followed by New York, Shanghai, London and Chicago. They also found that, if you travel from Boston to NYC to Philadelphia, you'll never be more than 10 miles of a Starbucks, and you could continue down to Baltimore, Washington, Richmond and Virginia and only be more than 10 miles away twice. So, yeah, lots of Starbucks. There's a stealthy Starbucks of all the Starbucks locations around the world. However, perhaps most curious of all is that which exists deep inside the CIA's headquarters at Langley in Virginia.
Known affectionately as Stealthy Starbucks, the baristas who work at that branch are put through a wide array of background checks and interviews before they're allowed to work there, and even after getting through all that, they're escorted by agents in and out of their work area. Despite its clandestine nature, however, the Langley branch is one of the busiest in the USA, and serves thousands of analysts, agents, economists, engineers, geographers, and cartographers each day. Despite appearing like any other Starbucks, its purpose is to provide a humanizing environment for agency workers, many of whom work in high-pressure scenarios and don't have their smartphones to help them tune out, they have to leave those in their cars. It also provides a setting for job interviews for current agents looking to get reassigned. And no, before you ask, nobody gives their name at the counter. They tried to get into the music biz in 2007. Starbucks co-founded Hear Music with Concord Music Group. Starbucks had previously found its way into the music business by selling the music of artists such as Ray Charles and Bob Dylan in stores across America. That same year, however, it made its first proper signing, Paul McCartney. The label itself didn't go far, though. After signing a smattering of artists, including Carly Simon, whose album on the label sold poorly, resulting in a failed lawsuit against them. Starbucks turned over management of the label to the Concord Music Group. The whole Sorry saga just seemed to prove that, no matter how many headliner acts you sign, attempting to make money by selling CDs in coffee shops during the advent of the age of digital music isn't a good idea after all. Who knew? There are secret Starbucks locations. The CIA branch might be known as Stealthy Starbucks, but that doesn't mean it's the only secretive branch around the world. The others, however, are stealthy in a different sense. The first of these branches opened in Seattle in 2009. It was named 15th Avenue Coffee and Tea, but a little disclaimer on the front door read, "Inspired by Starbucks." In 2011, it was converted back into a Starbucks, which it had been originally, as well, and it was permanently closed in 2017. Still, the formula must have been somewhat successful. 2 more camouflaged Starbucks have opened in the city. In 2012, the company opened one in New York. The Starbucks Reserve brand is a similar scheme, attempting to provide a more upmarket experience for coffee lovers, which eschews the company's logo. Both this venture into the high-end sphere and the stealthy Starbucks branches represent, depending on who you ask, either an attempt to experiment with new ideas in a relatively low-risk space, or a patronizing and cynical attempt to siphon off business from local chains and entice customers who balk at the Starbucks brand. Either way, be careful if you think you've escaped the clutches of the world's most pervasive coffee brand, they may have you already. There isn't really a secret menu, hate to break it to you, menu hackers, but the so-called secret menu at Starbucks isn't actually a thing. Sure, there are entire websites dedicated to keeping track of the latest and greatest Starbucks secret menu items, but just because you see something on the internet doesn't mean it's true. A good reminder in general, really. Thrillist spoke to baristas about the growing trend of customers waltzing up to the counter and ordering some bizarrely named drink, and why it can be a problem. Brandon, a barista from Michigan, explained that these websites give the drink a special name and fail to mention that there is no actual, secret menu. In other words, you can definitely order a cotton candy unicorn dust golden frappuccino, but your barista will likely have no idea what goes into it. Christine, a barista from Colorado, advises, just make sure you bring in the recipe. Because if it's off the secret menu, then we probably don't know how to make it. You know, because the secret menu doesn't really exist. One more piece of advice. Don't be that customer who orders a super complicated, secret, drink during the busiest times of the day. Beverages with 27 modifications are best saved for times when there's no line.